welcome back to the Digital Partners AI podcast, where we explore how technology, leadership, and artificial intelligence are transforming how companies work and grow. I'm your host, Danielle Paul-Solin. Today, we're talking about a challenge every business leader using AI will face: how to actually understand what your AI is doing and make sure it's driving real business value. My guest today is Tatiana Mahmood, PhD, CEO and co-founder of Wayfound AI, the leading independent AI agent supervision platform built for businesses, leaders and governance teams. Tatiana, welcome to the show. Can you start by telling us about your journey into AI and why you decided to create such a platform?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Danielle. It's really great to be here. So I have a weird journey into this space, which is my entire family are engineers. My mother's an engineer, my father's an engineer, my grandmother's an engineer, my aunt's an engineer, my brother's an engineer. I was fascinated with humans and social science. My first degree is in economics. My second degree, my PhD, is in cultural anthropology and the intersection of economics and, humanity. And I've been working in technology as a product leader at companies like Amazon and Salesforce and Nextdoor for over a decade. When ChatGPT came on the scene in late 2022, I knew that this was going to be a fundamental paradigm shift, and this was going to be bigger than the internet. And the reason I knew that is because we had been struggling with what to do with unstructured data and how to deal with all of this data in the world that wasn't able to be put into tables. So I quit my job. As soon as I worked with ChatGPT, I was like unable to think about anything else. I had a really amazing job with a fantastic team as a product leader. Had built the product, was scaling the product. And I just couldn't think about anything but what was coming with AI. And so for a year, I took zero salary and I just went deep into generative AI technology. Fortunately, I live in San Francisco, so I was able to meet with some of the founders at OpenAI, chat with them, have coffee with them, really understand what they were doing, how the technology was going to evolve. And it was very clear to me that there was going to be a big challenge in aligning AI to human values. That became very, very clear very early on, which was this technology is very hard to steer and control. Everyone was saying this inside the big labs, inside of OpenAI, inside of Anthropic. Again, these companies are right down the street from me. And so I started writing. I started writing about what would it take to actually have a collaborative interaction and collaborative culture between AI and humans. So I call it the multi-sapiens future, when Homo sapiens are interacting and working with AI sapiens. What does that look like? And I came up with a framework. I started working with another group of people. All of us were just doing this sort of on our own time, on our own dime. And so there was a very clear perspective that AI was going to be very hard to steer and control from the inside. But just like children and just like, human workers, we respond really well, humans, to supervision and to feedback and to loving, nice, right, supportive management, right, or supportive parenting. So the same type of system would have to be built for AI agents. I shopped this around to companies like OpenAI, like Microsoft, met with some of the very top, presidents, CEOs, CTOs at these organizations, and they said, we're not going to do this ourselves. So I was like, well, sounds like somebody has to do this. So I kind of fell into being a founder because nobody else was going to do it. And I felt like somebody had to build this company, somebody had to build this product. And so I ended up doing it. I had never wanted to be a CEO in my life. It's not a goal. It was actually an anti-goal of mine. Every time I'd gotten a phone call to, for a CEO job, I always referred a friend because that was not a life goal, not a life goal. We can talk about why it wasn't a life goal, but it's not a job that I naturally am attracted to. But it's something that is just this passion and this drive to build this really great approach for the multi-sapiens workforce for when AIs and humans are going to interact. It just gets me up in the morning every day, and I'm so happy doing this job.
And what was that like, being in a room with, CEOs, founders from OpenAI and Google? I mean, how did that conversation go?
It went great. I mean, they read the paper. First of all, they all read the paper, which was amazing. And one of the founders from OpenAI actually wrote back an entire paper response, like point by point, on my paper. It was Wojciech Zaremba, one of the technical founders at OpenAI, and he went through the paper and actually responded like on again, like here's what will work, here's what won't work, here are the questions I have. And and then we had coffee, and he was just so nice and generous with his time. Sam Altman as well. He was traveling, but he called in and he discussed things. Brad Smith and Kevin Scott from Microsoft, also extraordinarily helpful and engaged. Again, they had read the paper. They came with really great feedback. In fact, one of the reasons we went into AI agent evaluation first and AI agent management first was some of the feedback from Kevin Scott actually in that meeting. I mean, really generous, really smart, and amazing people, honestly, in my experience.
That's brilliant. I'm actually in awe the fact that you met those people, and as said, they read your paper and they responded to that paper. Which makes for really positive and great reading. So that must have been, for me. I would have felt like that's a real wow moment. And I know that you could probably share an example of where proper AI supervision made a measurable impact on businesses and their results. Could you explain a
Yes.
little bit about that?
Yeah, so we are working with several, large enterprises right now, and also a bunch of smaller companies that have AI agents deployed. So one of them was testing their customer service AI agent, and they were, it was a very small team. It was really one engineer working on it alongside the customer service team. They had a lot of other priorities. They were all very busy, and so they had, he had built this agent, and he estimated that it was going to take a full quarter. So about 12 weeks to finish the testing of the agent, to get the feedback from the customer service team, and then, revise it. Once they put, so what Wayfound is, it's an AI agent whose only job is to supervise and improve other AI agents. So it's an AI agent manager. If you can think about like a manager who is supervising their team, who is giving suggestions for improving the team and giving feedback directly to their team real time, right? Like watching, like, hey, you're doing this. I want you to do this. I want you to do this. You did this wrong, right? Like, I want you to redo this work, for example. So that's what Wayfound does. And so once he connected his agent to Wayfound, and the original agent was built on Google's Gemini, once he connected his agent to Wayfound, he started getting the analysis immediately, right? It starts flowing in. Our supervisor was reading everything that was happening and testing. And he was able to share that report with the customer service lead, the VP of customer service. So she looked at the report. She got the same, report and analysis that he did. They read the suggestions that the AI agent manager gave them, and they saw that there were a lot of knowledge gaps. So the first thing that she did was she looked at the knowledge gaps. She looked at the suggestions from Wayfound about where additional documentation was needed. So they decreased knowledge gaps from, 8.5% to, under 6%. So she filled in those important gaps in the knowledge base. He looked at where the agent was not really compliant or was not achieving its goals. And he looked at the suggestions from Wayfound about how to improve the directives on the agent. And he literally just copied and pasted, copied those directions, those suggested directives, and he put them back into his agent building platform. Mm-hmm. And then he saw the compliance, improve where there were violations, of around 5%, and that went to under 1%. So within 2 weeks, the two of them were able to collaborate, look at the same dashboard, use those suggestions, and then launch the agent because, our manager was doing all of this assessment quickly and suggesting how to improve it really quickly.
So that's live results, real results in real time.
Yes.
Which obviously helped the the company to pick up the things where they were going right, but also where they were going wrong, and then they were able to make those simple adjustments to actually improve their software or their AI agent, which is brilliant, and that's what companies want. I mean, what's the most common blind spot businesses leaders have when it comes to understanding their AI agent's behavior?
So the most common blind spot, and the thing that people really need to understand with this technology, is that this is not traditional software. It is not deterministic technology where when you build it, it behaves exactly the same way every time. So a lot of times people get frustrated because they're like, look, I asked the same thing 3 times and I got 3 different answers. It's like, yes, that's the nature of this technology. It will give you 3 different answers. And especially if you ask the same question 3 times in a row, it will assume, just like a human would, that the first answer wasn't good, that you didn't like the first answer. So it's trying to give you a different answer the second time, or else why would you be asking it again, right? So it is thinking like a human. It is more like a human brain than it is like programmed software. LLMs these models are not programmed, right? They are designed, right? There are certain rules in place in terms of how they evolve and how they actually bucket the information once the data starts flowing in, but they're not programmed in the same deterministic way as traditional software. And that's why people get surprised. And when they see a surprise, or they see something going, off the rails, or they see an unexpected answer, or in some cases, you'll get some bias, you get things that you didn't intend and don't want. They think the technology is broken or that it doesn't work. It is not broken. It is working, right? And so Danielle, you work with AI all the time. So you see this all the time, right? But people who don't see it all the time might expect it to be a lot more, again, deterministic than it is. And so the thing that people need to understand are hallucinations are not a bug. They're a feature of this technology. Hallucinations are creativity. If you get rid of all hallucinations, you just go back to old tables where you're just pulling data out of a table and you get 0 creativity.
Yeah.
So we need to embrace hallucinations, but we need to supervise the AI agents and the AI technology so that the hallucinations don't make it to the user. Allow the model to hallucinate as much as you want. Just make sure that those bad hallucinations don't make it back to the user.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that we're building.
Yeah, absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head. The hallucinations, when you're what you're trying to do actually with the AI in these situations is break it. You want to get to a point where you break it because you want those different faults to come back to you whilst it's in that building stage, so that then, like you said, you can fix them then, and they don't actually reach the end user. But a lot of people think, oh, like you said, it's given me this response, so it's not working. No, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Try and break it. I always say to people, try and break it, because that's where you're going to find where the bugs are, where the different nuances are that you have to change with the AI. So you're 100% right. People think that it's not working. It's working exactly how it's supposed to work. It
is.
Yeah, and if you're doing that, you're doing the right thing.
But definitely. Remember, you're not going to catch everything in testing.
Yeah.
Because the models change, right? So if you had built something on the OpenAI APIs last week, everything would have changed.
That's right.
And so everything that you tested, right, that was built on GPT-4 on that model, now the agents are responding differently. So, but now they're in production. What do? Take the agents down and retest them again? No, you've got your business systems, you've got your business processes running on them. So you need to be able to supervise them and manage them in production as well. They are just like human brains. And you can't just test somebody before you hire them and then just leave them alone and walk away, right? You need to have a constant supervisor there watching them and giving them feedback.
That's a very interesting concept that I think a lot of people can get with and get used to, because that is an important part of, as you said, testing and getting those things to work. How do you think AI supervision helps to ensure brand safety and compliance, especially in customer-facing sales and marketing interactions?
Yeah. So one of the things that we realized in Wayfound was we needed to have two levels of guidelines that were being enforced by our supervisor. The first we call agent-specific guidelines. Those are usually things that, are related to the agent's role and its goals. So for example, if it's a customer service agent, to never offer refunds, for example, is a common one, right? And test around, how it's talking about the product and ensuring that anytime it talks about the product, it's pulling from a particular data source, right? Not from YouTube or public reviews or things like that. So those are the specific agent-specific guidelines that you can write. But then there are what we call global guidelines. And the global guidelines are things like brand voice, brand tone, all of your brand guidelines, your company values, right? And how the company wants to interact or behave, what it's like, how it interacts with customers. And those you want to be enforced consistently across all of your customer facing agents. So you want to be able to write those once in a platform, and you want those evaluated in the same way. So if you are building or buying an AI agent from a marketing company and another one from a sales company, and then you're building another one that's a specific bespoke customer facing agent, you're going to have three different, if you try to do this and enforce the brand guidelines across those three different platforms, you're going to have different evaluations, right? Because those three platforms are just going to evaluate differently. You can't do that. You need a central manager like Wayfound, where you write the brand guidelines once, and then you plug in all those three agents into Wayfound, and then you have the brand guidelines evaluated in the same exact way in a single platform. So that's a really great question. That's why you need a third party independent manager that works with all of these different frameworks, and you can't rely on just writing the guardrails or writing the brand guidelines into one agent framework and then trying to replicate that across, the different systems, because they're going to be evaluated very differently.
So do you think there's a danger of relying purely on technical performance metrics and such, like, instead of business relevant AI insights?
So that's exactly what we do as well, is have that business relevant insight, right? You're giving us what is the agent's role, what are its goals, right? What does it need to achieve? Here's the context about our company that Wayfound as a good manager needs to know. And so we ingest all of that and we assess and evaluate the AI agent based on its role, its goals, the guidelines, the global guidelines that you give us, and the company context.
Got you. So, that's great. But for you, looking ahead, how do you see AI observing, evolving, and becoming essential to business leaders as a financial dashboard?
Yeah. So, right, one of the things that, what happens at the board level, right, in the boardroom is there's a lot of conversation around talent and around, especially in the compensation committee, how we're looking at the different functions of the company, how we are paying the different functions, how we're valuing the different functions, and how much money we're putting into the different roles, right? That in terms of growing marketing or growing, sales or growing engineering based on the strategy. So that entire dashboard is again going to shift to a multi-sapiens dashboard. So how much are we spending in AI? How much are we spending in functions? And then eventually what is going to happen is that the functions will start to change based on how efficiently humans can manage these different AI agents that are, for example, in sales and marketing, is probably going to become one function. There's not going to be sales and marketing. There's going to be one function. Product and engineering and design, one function, right? With a whole bunch of AI agents that are really good at design or really good at coding or really good at writing specs, right? For example, or doing customer discovery, which is an agent we have. So the actual functions of the organization are going to start to change because humans will, let me just say, humans are not going away, and human jobs are going to shift
Yes.
from doing the work to supervising agents and evaluating the outputs of the agents. So, one of the things that I cannot get an AI agent to do is understand really good taste and judgment.
Hmm.
So I can produce a whole bunch of different logos with an AI platform, but 90% of them will be garbage, right? AI slop, as we call as we call it in the industry.
Yeah.
And so you still need a human. And
Yeah.
I'm not really, my aesthetic judgment isn't fantastic. So I still need to hire an amazing designer,
Yeah.
right? To actually, first of all, prompt, right? The design tools well, select the correct design tool for the task, prompt it well, and then judge and iterate, right? To
Mhm.
get an amazing design out there. So that is not going away. And in fact, it's going to be even more highly valued. Salespeople are going to have their jobs because AI agents are not going to build relationships and trust with customers. So that is how our organizations are going to change. And so the skills are going to be shifting from the hard skills that are valued, the coding, the actually knowing how to, like, do the rote work,
Mhm.
the hard things,
In the grunt work.
and into the softer skills, right? The being able to connect and develop trust with a customer, being able to have taste and judgment, right? When you write or when you produce something that's visual, all of those things are going to be so highly valued.
And that's a funny thing because when I've spoken to other founders as well, one of the common themes that we've spoken about within our little talks is that humans think that AI are coming to get our jobs. But one thing AI can't do, as much as it tries, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future, is that it can't put that human side in. It can't build relationships. It's a very logical. AI is very logical, but that human touch, as you said, is always going to be needed. And I think that businesses, whether you're doing business to business, they're always going to value that human touch and that building that trust and having that relationship. And that is something that AI won't be able to do. I say won't, maybe in the future, like I said, never say never. But that's something that's missing. And this is the reason why humans are still needed. Even to prompt AI, you have to be able to prompt well, but it's something that you can learn, but you still need that human. So I agree with what you're saying. Humans aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it, right? AI is really, really good at building relationship with you to the extent that
Mhm.
it glazes you, as my teenage daughter would say, right? It tells you whatever you want to hear. Do you
So true.
trust that? Are you going to
Mm.
trust, a an AI
You
agent
trust
that
the
you
human that
know
did that.
is just glazing you?
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
you want to talk to a person who's authentic, who's going to tell you the truth, and who's going to be the person holding, like basically backing you up if something goes wrong. So
Uh-huh.
there's just, people say they trust their AI, and AI they do have really great emotional intelligence now and EQ in terms of telling you exactly what you want to hear.
Mhm.
That's not an authentic relationship, and that's not something that people are going to trust in a business context.
Absolutely, yeah. And the fact that you said glazing, I know exactly what you mean, and my teenagers use that term too, so that made me actually laugh because yeah, that's exactly what they would say. And it's true. Would you trust that in a normal human if they always kept telling you, oh, you're really beautiful, oh, you're great at everything? You wouldn't. You'd be thinking, okay, well, thanks a lot, but you're going a bit over the top. So yeah, it'll be exactly the same with AI. You've got to be able to be authentic. Authenticity is very, very important. Um, I've really enjoyed the conversation that we've had today. Some great insights about your business and how it's going. One thing I will ask is, what are the challenges that you're facing or have faced in the last year or so? Are there any, and what are you going to put in place to deal with those challenges?
Yeah. I mean, our biggest challenge, honestly, is what I just said around business leaders still expecting deterministic software and for
Mm.
these problems to be solved in a deterministic software way. And what we've seen with the GPT-5 release is it made mistakes and errors on stage, right? Like the bar graphs were off. I don't know if you noticed this, but the bar graph for 30 was higher than the bar graph for
Yeah.
59.
Mhm.
And so they will, as they get more capable, they will actually be more error prone, and those errors will be very, very hard for humans to find. But business leaders don't understand that because we have, our companies, all of us have forged our careers in a situation where software is software. If you build it right and test it right, it should work correctly every time. It's not how this works, right? The
Yeah.
paradigm shift is just taking a lot longer than we anticipated. And the biggest issue, and that's why I'm doing a lot of podcasts and a lot of speaking, is educating business leaders to let go of the expectation that this technology will be perfect or stop hallucinating or it's done when it's tested and can just be deployed. No, 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 no. You need constant supervision and you need a
Yeah.
third party supervisor because you can't have the student grading their own work and you can't have three different platforms enforcing your brand guidelines. It's going to appear that it's not working,
Mhm.
but it is working.
Yeah.
We're just thinking about it in an old way, right? And we need to like leap our understanding forward.
That's great. That's great. So in terms of Wayfound, what's next for Wayfound? Have you got any future plans in the next 6 to 12 months? Is there
Oh
something
yes. So
to
we are very excited to be chosen as an official monitoring sponsor for Agentforce, Salesforce's Agentforce. We are going to be at Dreamforce. We're partnering with their teams. We have one of the things I didn't talk about, which I should, is we have an amazing platform also for ensuring responsible AI. And so we're working with enterprises, especially in multi-step workflows, like where you have multiple agents handing off like handing off pieces of a process to each other. If something goes wrong and you get a biased piece of data or you get a wrong format in step 2 of a 5-step process, by the end of step 5, it's going to be nonsense. And the error is going to be very big. And so you need a supervisor checking every step of the way.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to a human review and approval, our manager agent actually, when you get to the human review and approval, it doesn't just say fail, it says exactly why and in what step.
Right.
So we speed up reviews and approvals. And so we're going to be demonstrating all of this to enterprises that are building on the Agentforce platform. We had a native Agentforce connector. And so our partnership with Agentforce is really exciting because we're going to be helping, speed up the adoption of AI agents. And we are also excited about Agentforce because a few of our customers had built either agents internally or built them or bought them out of the box from another company. When they were supervised by Wayfound, they were astounded by how many like guideline violations were happening, right? Because most of the time you just sample whatever 15% and you think everything is fine. But then when you have a platform that's reading every single session, you see that a lot of these other sort of free or cheap agents or agent building platforms just aren't ready for prime time. And they're now building on Agentforce because it is like a really enterprise grade platform. And we're going to be able to really help companies be compliant, be confident, and help the engineering and the business teams collaborate around making their agents successful.
It's brilliant. That is brilliant. And I have to say congratulations on your partnership as well. That's great news. And as you said, that's big things that are happening in the future for you. It's been a very fascinating conversation. And, I have to thank you for helping us to see AI not just as a technology, but as a system that requires clear goals, supervision, and measurable outcomes. So it can truly deliver for businesses. Before we close, though, I would like to invite you to let our viewers know how they could contact you or find out more information about Wayfound.
Absolutely. So we are at wayfound.ai. You can, schedule a demo there. If you have AI agents, definitely check out all our capabilities, get a demo. I also post a lot on LinkedIn. So you can follow me on LinkedIn, T Mahmood, the only one on the interwebs. So you can see a lot of the places and thoughts around AI agent supervision. And I also try to post things like when I see the big the big agents like GPT or Grok or, or Claude going off the rails, I will post it there. I'll be like, look, you may not have noticed, but no matter how good your engineering team, it's not about your engineering team. No matter how good your engineering team is, these things will go off the rails in production. They will. Even the top engineering teams in the world have AI agents go off the rails. They need constant supervision.
And, and I hope people keep that at the forefront. Supervision is key, and it's a theme that's run straight through this podcast. And as I said, I hope people always bring that to front of mind when they're dealing with AI. It can break, and it needs supervising.
Awesome.
Tatyana, once again, thank you very much for being on the podcast. We've really enjoyed having a conversation with you. And to all our viewers, we hope that you really enjoyed today's episode. And we hope that you'll be able to find information on how to find Wayfound if you want further information. But for this week, we say goodbye, and we will see you on the next podcast.